So let me ask an easy question. If you want to make the world sustainable, how do you want everybody to live? So this is one way of living it. I think you can see it. And then this is B. There's the second way.
I also think A is better.
A is better. Okay, right. So that is what you think. Okay, so let's see what actually it is. So when I ask why, what you say is there's a lot of nature and many things. Okay.
But
Yeah.
But both are suitable for the in highly population area. The B
Okay.
is the most suitable for the living, the vertical living,
All
because
right.
land and used to less land and use more population in that vertical living. But in the
Right.
horizontal area is a good one.
Okay, so there's you say in some context B is better. Okay, so I'm talking about the entire world. So if you want to make the world sustainable, how do you want everybody to live like? So that is my question. So in some situations you say B. Okay, right. So if I ask this question, what is sustainability? What do you know? What is the definition of sustainability? So there are many ways of defining it, but we will not go into that definition. But let me ask this question. By trying to make the world sustainable, by trying to make cities sustainable, buildings sustainable, industries sustainable, we are seeking a solution to a global problem. So there is a big global problem. That's why we want to make everything sustainable. That's why these courses are there in the universities and all. There is a huge global problem. What is that problem we are trying to solve? Who can answer? There's Eranka is there. Can you answer? What is the global problem?
Scarcity of the resources available.
Yeah, in one way it is the scarcity of resources available. Right, good. Any other answer? Yes, Mr. Fernando is there. So what do you think? Okay, I think you are almost there, but it is very important we understand what is the problem we are seeking answers to, because most of the time what we see is people do many things thinking we are contributing to sustainability, we are doing the right thing, but we are actually doing the wrong thing. So I begin with explaining you what this problem is. Okay. Actually, you are right. It is in proper terms, it is a problem about the number of people we have to share this planet with. So it is actually not the resource scarcity of resources. We only have one world to live, and there is a lot of people in this world to share that. So that is the problem. So I'll explain this problem in kind of a graph here. I think the screen is clear. The vertical axis in this graph is people in billions. So we have 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, and I have drawn it up to 11 billion here. And this horizontal axis is years. So this is 1800, 1900, year 2000, and onwards. Right. I will begin to draw this graph like this. I'm not going to draw forward here. I'm going to draw something behind there. Okay, so this is where we were. This is year 0, the birth of Christ, the birth of calendar. This is year 1000, 2000 is somewhere there. And I'm looking at 10,000 years back, 10,000 BC. In year 10,000 BC, the world population was 2.4 million. For you to get a proper feel of it, today the population in Colombo district is 2.4 million. So we are talking about entire world like Colombo. So in this graph, actually, I have in this axis system, I have drawn the graph. You can almost see because there is no considerable rate of population growth from 10,000 BC to the birth of Christ. So year 1800 is an important year because in year 1800 the world population became 1 billion. So for more than 10,200 years, 10,800 years, from 24 million, it became 1 billion. So the growth rate is very low. So this is a very flat graph. But in 1800, something important happened in the human civilization that is called the Industrial Revolution. So with the Industrial Revolution, people start to get better wages, the tapped water, they got more food and better sanitation facilities. And because of all that, and important thing is better medicine also there. And because of that, the population start to grow rapidly. In 1930, we had 2 billion people. And in 1960, we had 3 billion people. And during this time, experts said the world cannot bear more people. So we have to stop here. So people who are at that age, I don't know, is there anybody born in 1960s in this course? So 1970s, 1980s, there were this movement of family planning everywhere in the world, even in Sri Lanka. So we want to stop there. But what happened is by 1975, only in 15 years, the world population became 4 billion. And in 10 years, 1985, it became 5 billion. And year 2000, it became 6 billion. And in 2012, it became 7 billion, and it is going up. So where are we going? Where does this graph head? Is it going to be a population bomb? It seems like an exponential growth, so it is going like that. Is it going to reach infinity? So that is a problem, but there are projections done there. Important thing, I will show what is the projection is, but important thing is what drive this exponential growth, what is behind that. So one important factor is before Industrial Revolution and throughout the history. This is the nature of human being. One family had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 children. So that is the natural human growth. So one family had 6 children. So it seems like a very fast population growth. But what happened was during that period, before 1800, out of 6, 4 died, only 2 survived. So that is what made the growth of humans on Earth brought down to a very slow growing rate. Actually, in 1950, one family actually had only 5 children. So the number of children in a family has gone down with Industrial Revolution. The issue is only 1 out of them died, 4 survived. So that is the thing that drove the human population growth. So it is the child survival that is driving this exponential growth. Okay, so this is what is going to happen according to the experts' projections. So I'm using United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs projections. In 2025, the world will have 8 billion people. In 2040, we will have 9 billion. And 2060, the world will reach 10 billion. But you can see this graph is turning. It's not going exponentially up. And 2100, the world will have 11 billion people. And after that, the graph is flat. So after reaching 11 billion people, the world population will not grow further. It will remain there. So this is where we are going now. We are heading towards having 11 billion people on this planet, and we have to share it. Another question. Today we are at 7 billion, actually between 7 and 8 billion somewhere. So is there a way we can stop here? Can we stop here? What do you think? Well, you will think it is simple. So if we bring a regulation everywhere in the world, one family to have 2 children and nothing more, it will stop. Will it happen? I will show you another graph behind this one. This graph below, this shows the world child population. So you can see 1800, this is the number of children that was there in the world in between, let's say 950, it was there, and year 2000, the world child population was 2 billion. And after that, there is no child population growth in the world. The number of children in the world has come to a constant. So it is 2 billion children today, and in year 2100 also it is 2 billion. So there's no child population growth in the world. Then the question is, why then this population is growing? Why it is not stopping?
Aged population retained in the world.
Yeah, good. That is good. That is the reason actually. So most people wonder why this is happening. What is the reason? Are the aliens that are coming to the world? Why? Anyway, this is the balance of the world. One family have 2 children and they survive. So that is the world balance. So the question, I will explain why, from where does this additional 4 billion people coming to the world? So it is something like this. I will explain it like this in a graph. My horizontal axis in this graph is people. I have rounded to billions. This is people in billions. And vertical axis is age. We have 15 years, 30 years, 45 years, 60 years, and 75 years. So this is age. This is people in billions. This is the arrangement of the world today. We have roughly, we have 1 billion people between 75 and 60 years, 60 to 45 years, 1 billion, and 15 to 30 years old, we have 2 billion. Why we have more people here 2 billion and not that much people above that. It is the reason we explained earlier. So during Industrial Revolution and towards year 2000, one family had more than 2 children. So your parents had 2-3 children. Although you are having 2 children today, your parents had more than 2 children. So if this is children here, we are talking about 2 billion. The parents who gave birth to them is less than that. This is actually a pyramid because I have simplified it into billions. It's look like an L. Otherwise, 75 to 60 years old, number of people are very less, and they gave birth to these people below. So it's a pyramid. So this is the arrangement of the world in terms of age of people today, and what happens to these people in year 2030. What happens to these people between 60 to 75 years old? What will happen to them? Will they become 75 to 95 years old? They die. And people who are 45 to 60 years old will become 60 to 75 years old. So everything will live. Okay. And what will happen to these children 15 to 30 years old? They grow up into adults. And what are they going to do? They are going to lay down another 2 billion children. So year 2030, we will have 8 billion people in the world. So it is going to happen. The same thing will happen in 2045. We will have 9 billion people. And in 2060, same thing will happen. And there will be 10 billion people in 2060. But there's one more addition we have to do, that is with the development of medical facilities and all, we expect by that time, by 2100, these people who are 60 to 75 years will live little longer. So we will have to add another 1 billion there. So in 2100, the world will have 11 billion people. So it is without increasing the child population. You see, one family will have 2 children, that's all. So this additional 4 billion, as he correctly explained, is nothing else but fill up of this adults. It's an unavoidable fill up of adults. So we can't stop here at 7 billion or 8 billion people. The world is heading there. So more or less by 2100, 11 billion people have to share this planet. So are we ready to do that? So that is the question. I will show you another aspect of the same problem here. This is the 7 billion people live in the world today, lined up in billions. To my left-hand side here is the poorest billion. And here is the richest billion. And we have poorest billion to richest billion, the 7 billion people lined up here in billions. Okay. So the problem is, according to the way this 7 billion consume scarce resources, we require 1.5 planets to sustain them. So this is the problem. This planet is not enough according to the way we use scarce resources today. So we need 1.5 planets. How do we know that it is 1.5 planets? Well, it is because we have a norm to measure it. The norm is called the ecological footprint or the carbon footprint. Does everybody know what the carbon footprint or the ecological footprint is? Anyway, I will explain it. It's a good concept. Footprint is a good concept. Let's say we don't have to eat anything, drink anything, any scientific facilities to survive on Earth. What we need is just to stand on. So in which case, can you calculate the maximum footprint of humanity on Earth? It is simple. You take the area of your foot, so 2 foot area you calculate, and you calculate the surface area of the Earth from that area of 2 foot. So 2 feet area, let's say whatever it is, you divide that and you get a number. That number is the number of people that can sustain on Earth if what you need is only standing. But the problem is we need more things than standing. So for example, let's say everybody want to eat rice. So there is a certain area of land that is required to cultivate rice to feed one person. So let's say you need 10 perch land to sustain you for 1 year. Then your footprint actually is bigger than the real footprint of you. It is 10 perches of land to cultivate the required rice for you to eat. Then you have to divide the area of the Earth by the 10 perches and then calculate the number. So that is the number of people who can live in Earth if the entire globe can be cultivated and one person needs 10 perch. So that is your rice footprint on Earth kind of a thing. So you have a bigger footprint on Earth than your 2 feet. The ecological footprint is the maximum amount humanity can take over the ecological system on Earth. Carbon footprint also like that. So that is the concept of footprint. So each of us has an ecological footprint on Earth which can be measured. And we have a carbon footprint, that is the amount of carbon dioxide each of us emit due to our day-to-day activities, due to our consumption of food, due to consumption of electricity, transportation, everything. So there's a way of calculating. There are softwares to calculate that, and you can calculate your carbon footprint on Earth. So it is not only a person's footprint. We can calculate carbon footprint of a society, a family, or even an entire country or a city. So most importantly, since we are talking about sustainable cities, we can calculate the carbon footprint of a city, what it is in terms of numbers. So based on this footprint, we are saying with exact calculations that roughly we need 1.5 planet to sustain the humanity according to the way we consume scarce resources today. So that is the problem. Okay. Then this is another aspect of the problem. This is one of the most important aspects. So this is 7 billion people in the world, the poorest billion to the richest billion, right? And this is how they consume fossil fuel in the world. The richest billion consumes 50% of the generation of fossil fuels in the world. From what is left, 50% is consumed by the second billion. And from what is left, another 50% is consumed by the third billion. So what is left for the rest 4 billion is a minute amount. So this is the graph. This is much clearer, I suppose. This is the entire circle is the generation of fossil fuel in the world. 50% of that is consumed by 1 billion. Then 50% of what is left is consumed by the second billion, and then what is left, 50% is consumed by the third billion. So this is the pattern of the world. Whatever the scarce resource you look at, it can be income distribution, whatever. So this graph you will see. This is the pattern of the world. So the point is, if you want to do a sizable change to this particular system and make the world sustainable, you have to do something here. We have to do a modification here and not here, because this is a small part of the cake. The bigger part is here. Okay, this is the third aspect of the same problem. This is the 7 billion people here, down here, living in this world, and these are the continents of the world. Out of them, 1 billion today live in, not in America, it's North America and the South America, this American continent. This continent, 1 billion people live. And we have 1 billion people in Europe. We have 1 billion people today in Africa. And you might not have realized this, 4 billion people today live in Asia. So this is the balance of the world. We have 1 billion in America, 1 billion in Europe, 1 billion in Africa, and 4 billion in Asia. So that is the balance of the world today. I'm rounding off some numbers. So these are the real numbers. I think I'm distributing this PowerPoint presentation to you, so then you can identify. They are almost 1 billion, but I have rounded off the numbers. Huh? So by 2050, what is going to happen? In Europe, there is no population growth. Actually, in Europe, population is decreasing now. By 2050, in America, there won't be any population growth. In Asia, by 2050, there will be another 1 billion people. So in Asia, we have to expect 5 billion people by 2050. And in Africa, there will be doubling of population. So we have to expect 2 billion people in Africa by 2050. And in year 2100, there's no population growth in America, no growth in Europe, and the population growth in Asia is also stopped by 2050. There's no population growth, but we have to expect another doubling in Africa. So this is the population distribution in the world. So what you can see is the growth of population, this additional 4 billion are actually going to come in poor villages of Africa and in Asia. It is not even in rich cities in these countries. So this additional 4 billion that is going to come are going to come and land here, not here. So there are two ways of looking at this problem. One way is you sit with these rich people and say, now you can't have population growth like that. We have to control that population growth because there's a limitation of scarce resources to share. The right way of looking at this, I think, is we have to sit with these poor people here and look at what is going to happen here. Actually, the problem of the world is not increasement of these poor people here. It is the consumption of scarce resources by these richest 3 billion is going to increase in time to come. So this graph here will almost reach this level, and this graph will reach this level by 2100. So a huge consumption in this particular area is going to happen. So that is what we have to reduce if we want to make the world sustainable. Because this part of the cake is a very big portion. So this is another good calculation somebody has done. So this is people from the poorest billion to richest billion in the world today. So if everybody in the world starts living like Americans do today, if everybody in the world start living like Americans do, we require 4 planets to sustain. So that is the problem. So that is where we are heading. So this is what we have to stop. So that is the problem we are facing. So that is the problem we are seeking answers by designing cities, by designing buildings and all. So that is where we are going. So keep a thorough understanding of this problem we are going to solve. That is very important. Keep it in your mind. Otherwise, what I see is at the end, you are doing many things that doesn't directly answer this question, thinking you are doing something sustainable. So that won't do. So this is the history of it. So this problem was identified, and UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, started in 1992. UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So the idea of this UNFCCC is it commits the countries to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The reason is there's scientific consensus that the global warming is happening. It's a fact, and it is extremely likely that it is due to the carbon dioxide emitted by human activities. So it began in 1992. Just remember, this is something important. And the Kyoto Protocol started in 1992. That is to enact UNFCCC, the conventions. So this is 1997. So what is a protocol? Protocol means a system of rules that govern the affairs of states. That is an international agreement between countries that govern how a country should operate. So that is a protocol. So it is this convention happened in Kyoto, so in Japan. So that is why it is called Kyoto Protocol. So it's an international treaty. Treaty means it's an agreement between states. So Kyoto Protocol happened. Under the Kyoto Protocol, actually we formed the World Green Building Council, and under that Sri Lanka Green Building Council and all those systems to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and make the world a sustainable place. It is important we concentrate in doing that on buildings and cities, because when you calculate the human impact on environment, 40% of human impact on environment is due to buildings and cities. Okay, so just remember these two things: the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Kyoto Protocol. Under that, we formed the Green Building Councils, Green Building Systems, the Green Rating Systems, and now we have a rating tool to rate cities in Sri Lanka as well. And our main goal by doing all those things is to reduce carbon dioxide emissions and reduce energy consumption, because energy in a broader term means carbon dioxide emissions. So our goal is, by doing so, to contribute to reduce the ecological footprint of humanity to the size of the Earth. So right now, this is the ecological footprint of humanity. It is much bigger than the Earth. So by designing these cities, designing buildings, what we are going to do is we are going to squeeze down this footprint so it suits the size of the Earth. And after that, if we can do it, everybody can live happily ever after on this planet. So that is the idea. Okay, I think the question is now clear for you. So we'll get back here. If 11 billion people start to live like this on planet, what would happen? Who is going to answer that? I'm not talking about 20 people living like this or 2 million people living like this. That is possible. But if 11 billion people start to live on this planet like this, what would happen? Who can answer? If you are not answering, I will specifically ask from Sanjeev. So what do you think?
Consumption of resources will be reduced.
How come that? Consumption
Because,
will be the same, isn't it?
say here I can see some cottage type houses, no?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm
yeah,
talking about, we're talking about 11 billion people start living like this on Earth. So what will be the amount of land consumed by them? So if 11, if let's say here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cottages. So if we put them on a high-rise building, all these people the footprint will be one cottage. So if 11 billion start to live like this, there will be a usage of huge amount of lands on Earth for living. So which the world cannot bear.
So excess, I propose vertical development
Okay.
solution for that.
Right. Okay. So that is one thing. Okay. The second one is we will come to that. So I'm asking if 11 billion start living like this, what will happen is, if it is as you correctly said, if it is high-rise buildings, dense development, you can sustain them with lesser number of transportation networks and roads. But if 11 billion start living like this everywhere on Earth, there will be a need of huge transportation networks and huge water supply networks. And on these networks, there will be a lot of wastages happening. And there will be the wastewater and sewer treatment will be a problem. It will not be, you once again need networks to connect them to a single place and then treat them. The treating is not efficient. And your solid waste management, collecting solid waste will be a problem. So there will be a lot of problems. So there must be a solution, as you suggest, to this particular problem. So one solution you said is putting them on top of each other and making a vertical thing, right? So what are the other solutions you can suggest?
We can search another planet or something.
To find another planet. Okay. Okay. There's a Gaia. So what do you think? What is the solution for this?
Mm. So I also thought about the development of flats and all.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
That's right. So there are
Recycle and reuse.
yeah, that is one way. We have to recycle and reuse everything as much as possible, right? Simply, there's a solution to this problem. We all know that the solution is
Consumption culture to be changed.
yes, all that is correct. But there's a in arrangement of the housing or whatever. There's a simple solution, and the solution we know. The solution for this problem is called the city. So if this is in a city, the use of land is less. The amount of water distribution networks, transportation networks will be squeezed down. So we think by the looking of it at the surface of cities, they are not sustainable. Living like this is sustainable, but you have to think about the numbers. So if we have to share the planet with 11 billion, it's a huge number. This small planet with 11 billion people, the solution to share the planet with everybody sustainably is making cities, not villages. So that's why we are talking about sustainable cities today. So we will look at it in depth. Whether we like it or not, it is happening globally. This is the global data from 2011 to 2025. This is what is going to happen, the prediction. In New Delhi, there will be right now we have about 23 million people. It will be 33 million people. There is a 43% population growth, urban population growth in New Delhi that is going to happen. In Beijing, we expect 44% of population growth, urban population. In Shanghai, about 40%. And in Dhaka, there is about 53%. It's a huge population growth there. And in Mumbai, we expect about 35% population growth. You can see in developed countries, it is much less. In New York, although it is developed, we expect 20% of urban population growth. In Los Angeles, about 23%. So likewise, the urban centers, mega urban centers are growing fast. People are attracting to this, the urban areas, and cities are growing. Which you might think, in your opinion, is something bad, but if you look at the overall global picture, which is good, which makes the world a little bit more sustainable. So this graph shows the share of population living in urban areas projected to 2050. So this is how the world will look like in 2050 in terms of how many percentage of the country is living in cities. So you can see in Australia, it's about 100% is living in cities. In Southern America, it is about 100%. So in Europe, it is about 80%. So this is a good graph that shows that. So 2050, a majority of world population is going to live in cities. So this is another graph. I will give this presentation to you. So this shows the urban population growth, and the size of the circle shows the number of people in the city. The color shows the growth rate. So as if today about 54% of world population now live in cities. For example, in Asia, about 32% people live in cities today, and by 2050 we expect it to be 64%. In Africa, about 31% live in cities. By 2050, it will be about 56%, and so forth. So this is the picture of the world to the right corner. In the entire global picture, about 43% people lived in cities in 1990, and today about 54%. And by 2050, we expect about 66% people in the entire world live in cities. So there is a huge growth in urban population in the world. And according to the projections, by the end of this century, about 70% of world population will choose to live in cities, which is a good thing in terms of sustainability. So by doing so, they are contributing to make the world a more sustainable place. Okay, so whether we like it or not, this is what is going to happen. In year 1900, actually, only 14% people in the world lived in cities. In 1960s, about 35%, and 2005, we reached about 50%. And 2050 to 2100, we expect 70% of people to live in cities, in urban areas. So we need approximately 3 billion people are going to move into cities. So we need cities for 3 billion people more. So right now, it is about 54% of the world population live in cities. It's approximately 3 billion people are the number of people live in cities today. So in coming 50 to 70 years, we are expecting doubling of urban population in the world. So whether we like it or no, it is going to happen. And unless we get it done right, this urbanization, this growth of urban population, managing it, unless we get it right, all these climate solutions, other climate solutions we are talking about, are not going to save the mankind from this global crisis we are talking about, because about 40% of human impact on environment is due to the cities and the buildings. And if we want to make a considerable change, that is where we can do something. It is not in other industries and all. So you can do something to industries and all, but the effect is very less. So buildings are the effective thing, you can do something. The cities are the effective thing, you can do something. So we have to do something there.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
The city living mean that in future the people move to the existing cities, so their living cities become their living area become a city. So
No, in Africa and all, as you said, in some areas, what will happen is the urban population itself will grow. But in majority of the world, what will happen is people choose to live in cities, they move to cities. So that is how urban population grow. It is not population growth itself, it is urban population growth. That means people from villages move into cities and choose to live in cities. Right? Did I answer your question?
yes, yes, okay.
Right. Okay, so that is the problem we are going to solve. So I first explain you what we are going to do. So before starting it, so there is a population crisis in the world, and it is directly related to cities, and we are going to get it right. So this part of this 3 billion people that are going to live in cities will be in Sri Lanka. So as engineers and professionals of this country, we are going to manage it correctly and do it in a sustainable way. So how to do it, that is what we are going to learn. Okay, so now we have to begin the thing. So before beginning, is there any question you want to ask and clarify? I like if you make this a discussion kind of a session. So if you have any clarification, if you have counter arguments, you can ask. Okay, so then what we'll do is before beginning, now we have spent about 1.5 hours. We will give you a 15 minutes break, and we will get back at 10:30. Okay.